Hey everyone, Joe Menza here, and this painting you're seeing in the beginning is one that I really liked. I kept for myself, and I thought I would do one similar to it. Don't want to do an exact copy, but we'll do one similar for everyone. So this should be an easy beginner watercolor. So I'm painting flat, and I'm going to use my continuous spray bottle to wet the paper down. I'm using that more and more these days instead of brushing water on there. It's just an easier approach, and you can get a nice sheen of water on there very quickly. So we want to keep this as fast and loose as possible. About 20 minutes to paint this one or so if you want to follow along. We're going to be using the large hake here, and we're going to start off using some ultramarine blue. Clean my palette a little bit. This is Fabriano 11 by 14. Need to reclip this down a little bit. Just reclip the top there. It popped out. I don't like to clip too far into the paper because I don't want to miss too much. I don't have any border. So it's good after you spray that to let the paper sit a little bit and let the water kind of absorb in a little bit. Every paper is a little different. So in addition, I'm going to make up a purpley color for the sky. We're going to go with some red and some ultramarine blue. This is my new palette, by the way. This is my Paul Rubens palette. Very nice palette. Seals everything in. And nice long trays for the hake to fin it to. So the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to just start off with the mountains here with this purpley color. Before I even lay in a sky, a little bit different than I normally do, but I just want to kind of get an idea. Kind of work a little bit backwards in a sense. So we're just going to rough in these mountains very quickly. Use the corner of the brush. Okay, so next I'm going to go right into some Van Dyke Brown and some burnt umber. Now, while I do have a lot of colors on my palette, I am sticking to the original 7 for the most part, except I might use a little Van Dyke Brown or a slightly different blue, but the original 7 colors would be Payne's Gray, burnt umber, a lemon or a cad yellow, alizarin crimson, and ultramarine blue. And I might use a little burnt sienna too to redden up the brown, and a light red. All the other colors are just, if I use any of those, I'll let you know. But here we've got some background type of mountains, and we've got the more foreground type mountains. And so now I'm going to just get back into some of that purple color, and I'm going to make a bit of a sky. Now this looks like it's going on a little heavier, but you'll see there's a little method to the madness here shortly. A little more blue on top of that. And remember, we will have some trees going in. So now I'm hitting this with my continuous spray bottle. And that's going to lighten things up a little bit, tilt my board just a little bit, and give her another spray. Again, this is Fabriano 11 by 14, 140 pounds. Fabriano Studio, so it's a pulp-based paper. So I'm just gonna take my napkin here. I'm gonna dab in a little cloud formation. Again, there'll be trees blocking this, so we're not as concerned about the sky. And I'm just gonna Just dab in a little. We just want some background color. And I'm just going to create some, almost what might look a little like hills too in the background in white. So just cleaning up a little bit of that paint, little reverse painting. And now I'm just going to blend this and blend those mountains together. And you see we have some layers there going on. And I'm going to come in with some darker brown, even more still in the front. And as you can see now, those other mountains are pushed back. So we have sort of a mountain range going on. So now we're going to get out the handy card. And we're going to scratch in. That's why I made that darker. I'm going to scratch in the foreground hills. I can't stress enough finding a good piece of plastic to scratch with. If the corners are too sharp, it'll scratch your paper. I like those little cards they give you at like the grocery store. They call them loyalty cards. They're round on the corner. I'm coming in with a little Payne's gray, a little brown, and just kind of hitting the shadow sides of these little mountains here. And now back to a little bit of the purple, a little bit of the blue. And we're going to start working on the foreground areas. And this is going to be a watery area, so I put it on a little heavier, and I'm just hitting it with my continuous spray bottle. And I'm going to let that run a bit. Now, I'm going to just spread this out a little bit with the brush and kind of lighten that up. I find in some ways you go a little heavier on your paint, then you hit it with the water from the bottle. You can come up with some pretty neat effects instead of more watery on the tray and then putting it on. Start off a little heavier and then go back by adding more water via the bottle. So this is going to be more toward the water area down below. Again, we're sticking with the same colors, a little bit the sky colors, the blue and the red, a little bit still on my palette. Just dabbing away a little bit of that, a little of the excess. See, now I do have a little bit of blue in my spray bottle. I can spray on like this. This is not the right blue, so probably won't really matter, but if I put like some ultramarine blue or some darker blue, I can actually spray that on too and get some different tones without disturbing it too much with the brush. So next what we're going to do is I'm going to go into the burnt sienna a little more. I want a little bit of a reddish brown. Now you can use burnt umber and a little bit of red and do something similar. Burnt sienna and light red. And I want sort of a warm foreground here. And I'm just using the brush, kind of dabbing away and some little textural, little detail things. Sometimes I see things when I'm painting, I'll jump up like I just did to the mountain area and just touch up a few little things. Well, I got some darker colors on my brush. I added a little Payne's gray. So I just wanted to kind of have some variety of colors down in the soil on the bottom. And just touching with some darker Payne's gray and ultramarine blue, a little brown on there, just to highlight the bottom area of the landmass. So I took a little blue, ultramarine. I need a little bit more blue showing on that water on the bottom, but I want it to look diffused. I want it to look light. So I hit it with my water bottle to kind of let it run a little bit. And because of that, I disturbed a little bit of my land that was going there, but no worries. I kind of like sometimes doing that, and the other colors from the land will like run into the paint, and it creates an unexpected effect. It gives the water a little bit something else, makes it look a little more like realistic water. But I can go over those little land masses again, no problem. Still working wet into wet here. Now you look on top, we got some pretty nice scene there with the mountains and the clouds. I almost hate to cover up any of that because it looks kind of rather nice, but we'll have a couple of trees going in. So we're working on just touching up the little landmass areas, and we'll put in our couple of trees. So back to the burnt umber, Van Dyke brown, ultramarine blue combo. And we're just going to go straight up and kind of wiggle the brush a little bit. Kind of just make that straight line to put my trunk in. There's a couple different ways you can approach that. I should do one just on trees. On my Patreon side, I've got a special video about color mixing, and then I also have a holiday video over there. If you want a little more detail and you want to jump on over to Patreon, or you can join as a member here on YouTube, you can do that. You can become a member here. Just remember, you have to look at my community page, and you'll see members-only posts with links to the unlisted videos that are all members only. There's at least 30 videos over there, so it'll keep you busy for a while, and I try to put up a new one every week. So jump on over there. There's many ways to support the channel. Many people are already, and I appreciate each and every one of you. If you can't do it that way, like, subscribe, as always, and comment. So I'm going to switch to my rigger brush. Using the same colors, I'm going to create some little branches. Just a little squiggle and wiggle using the side of the brush. Got to have plenty of paint on there, but you can only get so much paint on that brush. So you have to make a very inky, watery consistency in your palette. Just tilt my board a little bit more. We should be past most of the water running phase of the painting. Now I'm going to scratch these trees. And you know, in my palette, there was this little plastic thing. It works pretty good, actually. It's a little plastic, I don't know what you'd call it. It's for picking out paint in the palette. And I couldn't find my card, so I thought I'll just use this. And it works pretty good. I wish it was a little wider. It's a really good scraper. So what you really need is you need something that's kind of got an edge to it, but it's not like scratchy on the paper. It needs to be a soft edge type plastic thing. I should find the right thing. I'll sell them as watercolor rock scrapers with a keychain hole. You keep it right on your keychain. So here's the palette. This thing, I put these paints in there days ago, and look at how wet they still are. I have another palette the Mijo, I forget what that one was called, but the paint starts to dry out in there, even with it sealed. I think it's not 100% airtight. I don't know. Now I'm going into some green here. I accidentally picked up a little green on my brush. So I thought, well, last time I did sort of the fall trees. This time I'll do, I don't know, more like a spring or summer type trees. So we'll see how that works out. It doesn't really matter what color you use. You can use any color you want. Green, brown, depending on the season, yellow, orange. So I'm going to try to get a little yellow on here too, and sort of highlight these, a little cad yellow hue. See, the idea here is when I first did this composition, there was a lot of talk about how the painters in the day created like an arch. So you have the trees like over the top is like an arch, and you're looking between these things. And then the water or the path or whatever leading up, you have like a Z, which is like or an S curve, which is to lead you into the painting. So that's why I started doing these like this with the two trees. Then my wife says, every time you do these paintings, you have the same two trees in there. And I realized, yeah, I kind of been repeating myself a lot. So I started changing it up a little bit. So that's a little bit of the backstory behind the two trees composition. But it's fun. I mean, if you're going to do, say, in-person classes, this would be one that I would do, I think. It kind of harkens back a little bit to the first painting I did. I did one that Frank Clark did, and it was just using burnt umber. It didn't have any trees, though. It was just the mountain and then water underneath. It was very, very simple. That would be a good starter to have people, if you're doing a class, which down the road I'd like to do and have classes, but people could start off with a single color, burnt umber, similar composition, and then move on to a color version, which would be one more like this. Maybe add one tree, move on to pine trees. And another thing is I always used to run the trees off the page. Only one reason is because I saw Bob Ross do it. He would say, okay, time for your bravery test. And then he would take the brush and he'd run it clear off the page. And the other reason is because I could never really, like the top of the tree, always kind of, to finish, they have the top of the tree. It was like easier to just run it off the page. So I'm going to do a little dry here. Now that we've come down this far, we'll give it a quick dry. And as you can see down below, I've added the same colors from the leaves for grass, just to have a little bit of grass going on the bottom. Originally, I wasn't going to do it that way, but may as well. So you can see on the bottom, I used that little plastic thing to scrape off scrape some rocks. And that worked out pretty nicely. It's a perfect rock scraper if I don't lose it. I had a loyalty card that I really liked. It actually came from Blick's, of all places, the art place, the art store. And I really liked how it scraped, and I kept misplacing it. So I'm hitting this, I'm drying it again. So now we'll see what it looks like with the mat on it and see if there's any little last minute touches to do. Now I probably made those mountains just a little too much toward the dark side. A little too much Payne's gray. But I'll go ahead and I'll sign this one. And I've been using this new marker for signing. I was using a Jelly Roll pen, but I don't know, they just don't hold up. over the paint and stuff like that. So I switched. I got a package of these acrylic white pens. I like signing my name in white. I don't know why, but I started signing them with this acrylic pen, and it's I like the width of the nib on it and stuff. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Any questions, leave below. And I hope this helps you and you're doing well in your painting. Remember to check me out at Patreon. You know, there's always my website you can go through, which is joemenzaart.com or joemenza.com. Here is the final painting. Let's zoom in. You can see that sky through there. Nice purpley colors. Nice water look. We'll zoom in. You see the scratch work there, scraping. And the tree leaves. Thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate it. Have a great day.